Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nina Williams in Depth. I'm your host, Friendly Tree, and thank you for stopping by and checking out my content. As always, I want to make sure my settings are correct because I don't want to spread any misinformation. Default. Player frame data on. Nothing counter hit, nothing rage. Good. Alright, today I want to talk about a very iconic move in Nina's move list, and that is Blonde Bomb. So Blonde Bomb here, you can see move number 31, that's the name of the move. Conveniently, Nina's a blonde character, and Blonde Bomb is a bit of a saying, isn't it? But this is a move Nina has had since the very beginning, so most people are very familiar with this move, or at least the appearance, the animation of this move. Its uses have changed over time, and I think it's once again quite a key move in her moveset in Tekken 7. Alright. So we can see here it's forward 1 plus 2, so that's forward and 1 plus 2 at the same time, or you can be walking forward and press it to get it to come out. And there's also a hidden input here, which they do not have in the move list. So if I scroll down, we see in the while rising, there's nothing there. This other input is while rising 1 plus 2, or while standing 1 plus 2 as we call it. The way to do this is you crouch, you let go of the direction, and you press 1 plus 2. So likewise you could do this by pressing any move that makes you recover and crouch, such as down 4, and then you could essentially just mash 1 plus 2. Or down 3, mash 1 plus 2. As long as you don't do it too fast, it'll make that come out. With down 2, mash 1 plus 2. Things like that. So, it's important to know the two inputs of the move, of course. What else do we need to look at? We need to look at the damage. So, on hit, it gives you 24 damage. And you see the frame advantage. Don't worry about the frame advantage, but it sends them knocked down. We can also see startup frame. It's 17 frame startup, and there's only one active frame on this move. So regardless of what you do, it's always going to be the same properties of frame advantage and frame disadvantage. Which leads to the next bit, on block. This move is negative 14, and if it connects, it'll always be negative 14. The range is can change slightly, but it's not as drastic pushback as it used to be, meaning most of the time you're going to be at a very close range, and it's quite an easy punish for your for people to follow through with. So, for example, with Nina, if you block this, you've got an easy down forward 3-4, regardless of how deep or how much pushback there is. Oh, except the tip range. But forward 3 is going to work at every range, and it's very unlikely you're going to get at that tip range. With that in mind, you've got to be very careful what matchups you use this in, because characters such as Law or Lars or a good Mishima as well, they can launch punish this move consistently. So be aware of that, but it doesn't mean you have to ignore using the move entirely. It just means there's increased risk against characters that have a 13 or 14 frame launcher. Also be aware of the characters that have 14 frame rage launchers, such as Steve and Yoshimitsu and Josie, because that's another situation where you need to be a little bit more cautious about using this move. Alright, what about range? So, I'll put them on stand. So at range 2, it's going to hit quite easily. If we go to range 2.8, it's still going to hit. If we get to range 2.9, still hits. Range 3 though is about the cutoff, so it shouldn't work at range 3. Yeah, there we go. So 2.9 is pretty much the absolute that you'd want to be doing it at. And if we do that based on the old measurements of back dashes away, so this is range 0, 1 back dash, 2 back dashes, 3 back dashes, you can see it's just under 3, so it's about range 2.7 sort of thing. Which, hey, look, it fits about right, doesn't it? So that gives you an idea of how you can use it range-wise. Now, what about tracking? So if we go guard all, sidestep left, you've got to notice they cannot sidestep this. If you do it right, of course, they can, Nina's weak side. But depending on the frames, they're going to have more difficulty. So Oh, he got hit. There we go. So at certain ranges, they can't step it there. But sidewalking, they can. So it's not entirely linear, but it can catch people, and there's a bit of a mind game there depending on the frame. So I recommend you explore it and just see where it can catch and at what frames you could use it based on what the opponent is doing, whether they're stepping left or stepping right. And most people are going to be stepping right, so you can see that it's one of those things that in the lower frames you're more likely to use, which also comes in handy with its other trait. So the other thing about Blom Bomb, forward 1+2 or while standing 1+2, is, as of Tekken 7, it is a power crush. Let's go. So being a power crush means from frame 8, it absorbs hits. So that's why it's still quite a practical move to use. So it is a move that you generally want to use in the more negative frames, or the other thing about it is because of its range. So because it works at almost range 3, it's a pretty good whiff punisher. So if we compare it to something like up forward 2 or down back 3+4, you can see there it's got it's got more range than those, and that comes in handy for a lot of different situations. We'll talk about a few of them in a moment. Alright, I think that's everything for the properties of the move. Let's go on to the application. Alright, let's look at the application of the move. So I already said before that it's got very good range, so it can be used as a range punish. It can be used in some false frame setups. Sorry, not false frame, negative frame setups. So you can do something where you're deliberately minus. Where you're deliberately minus, for example, something like that, while standing 1. Not a great example because you're -6, but because the power crush starts on frame 8, it means that if they do anything, I believe 14 frame. Let's double check that. Yeah, so 14 frame, and you will win. So if you do that and you have a feeling they're going to do something very minus there, if you're going to do something 14 frame or slower that isn't a low, then you're fine. Do remember that power crushes are beaten by lows and you will get counter hit. So for example, if I do this again, that'll get counter hit launched by Nina, or other characters that have similar scenarios. But yeah, you can use different frame traps, so find yourself places where you're getting a little bit minus, and if you know the opponent's button happy, you can use it for a frame trap. Yeah. So that's one way you can use the move. You can also use it to catch people moving. As I showed before, it catches just different distances and it catches very long range, and it also catches people stepping in different ways and in different frames. So if you have someone that's doing an unclean backdash, like that, oops, you can use it at the right time to catch them. This is another thing I have to point out once again, that because it is -14 on block, you do need to be careful who you use it in this way against, but it is an option you can use. So you can use it to catch movement. If you're seeing someone and they're moving unnecessarily in an unclean way, so if you see sort of sloppy movement, or if you think they're going to press a button at range, you can catch them. Unlike with other moves, because of the power crush, even if you're a bit slow and they throw out something, you will still beat them. Let's talk about combos next. So it can be used mid-combo. So for example, very easy example, 44 damage there. Let's say we do this route here. We'll just do a single while standing one there. So we'll just do this one. Oh, come on. $64 damage, opposed to if you're doing 61 damage. So you can use it as a combo ender, and it still gives you a similar sort of scenario there. One thing I will point out though, is if you're doing this ender, because of the scaling at the end, those will do the same damage. Sorry, we'll go that combo so you can see. So 52, 52. So you can use it to mix up your options there for no loss of damage for different kind of Oki, different kind of setups. The next thing we need to talk about is going to be at the wall. So let's go to the wall. Everybody likes the wall. So please do be aware of the risk of this move, but at the same time don't feel like it's a move you should refrain from using, because it has a lot of great applications and it can be very rewarding in some matchups with not too much risk. So if we go to the wall, whoops. If we go to the wall, one thing of course is it wall splats. So you instantly get a wall splat and you can get big combos from it. So it's good to use at the wall if you catch someone moving or trying to press buttons. Because of the variable frames on people stepping, you can catch them trying to escape the wall as well. It can also be used in combos. So as you saw before, I did down forward 1 to 1+2, which is a string that ends in Blonde Bomb, which is not a power crush. But you can also do strings that end in the normal forward 1+2. So for example, 52 damage there. I mean, you can do that one for a little bit extra damage, but this gives you a scenario where you can mix up Oki more easily, because you can do things like that ender, that ender, that ender, that ender, that ender. And I do need to point out, if you looked at the damage percentages there, if you just do it up high, you can see it scales it can scale quite badly. It'll scale like anything else will. But if you do it in these specific combos, they're low to the ground, and you'll notice it'll do 60%. So that's why it's a strong ender, because it auto times itself to do that unscaled damage at the end, or the 60% scaled damage at the end, which is much greater than just doing it like that, where you see it's doing 36% scaled damage. And of course, it doesn't go without some form of Oki when you do this. So let's go get up kick. We covered this recently in another video, but you notice it can catch different options like that. So you can have Oki from ending in her higher damage options. Of course. This one trades, doesn't it? Yeah. So you've got options to create Oki with it. And that's my perfect segue to the next thing I want to talk about with this move. And that is Oki. So from the move itself, let's just talk about the move itself, we can actually get some Oki here. So let's say low kick. If we do that, you see they take a little while to get up. If you do a dash into a down 2, if you get the timing right, it'll beat them as they do. And it'll also, sorry, yeah, it's also safe to spring kick. So you can keep that in mind, and you can mix it up with other things too. So of course, another common option here might be 443, and get a counter hit launch from. You can't quite get the range for that off this though, can you? But this is another nice option I like to do is dash while standing 1. Sorry. And that's a good mix up there. Oh. Because it's also going to be get up kicks. It keeps you relatively safe. You're not committing to the string. You're just doing the get up while standing 1. And oh my god. Not good at this today, am I? Yeah, and it can catch spring kicks if you don't do the wrong move. Yeah. So there's a bit of Oki off the move itself. But of course, there's Oki in this move. So if you do things like a down forward 1+3 throw, and they wake up backward, this isn't the most rewarding option you can get, but, come on brain. Oh. Let's just mash it. It'll catch them. So that'll be guaranteed if they get up. And the fun thing is, it'll be guaranteed if they get up in any way. Except that. But if they do things like this, yes. So, you've got some good Oki there. And that also is going to work off this throw. To some extent this throw. Not really, but in some situations it'll catch most things they do. And this throw. Which, if I had my timing right at the moment, we'd see. Yeah, that was even a bit slow and it still caught it. So you can use it as an Oki, well, you can use it to cause Oki and you can use it as part of the mind game, the ground game afterwards, the Oki itself. So it's a pretty strong tool to use in those situations. Of course, if you used it wrong, there is some risk there. Alright, the last thing I want to talk about is some specific character situations. So let's go to what will probably be the most well-known one. Paul's Death Fist. So Paul's Death Fist itself is quite an unsafe move. So if we look here, plus 17 for me, so I'm at next 17, oh, he's at next 17, meaning a reverse ivory cutter will work, right? But the strength of his Death Fist is the pushback. That doesn't matter against Blom Bomb. I think there is a very, very, very tip range where it won't work, but it's so uncommon. So if you're unsure if your reverse ivory cutter is going to reach, no, come on. You've got Blom Bomb. Oops. Likewise for Paul. Demo Man. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I was a bit slow. So you can see it's next 17 as well. So in this matchup, you can beat both of those anywhere on the screen using that move. The final example for Paul will be full crouch down forward 2-2. If for some reason they do it, you can see they're quite far away. Neg 19, but up forward 2 won't reach. If you don't want to do a forward 2, while standing 1+2 is an easy punish that'll always work. Let's go to one more example like this, just so people can be familiar. Asuka. Asuka's back 3 can be quite a frustrating move to deal with. And I'm not going into the full depth of the move at the moment, but I just want to show you some. I just want to show you why Blom Bomb's very good here. So at range, well, at close range, sorry, you can get a Geyser Cannon. At most ranges you can, but at tip range, which is very hard to replicate. There we go. Some ranges it won't work, but Blonde Bomb will work at every range. Yeah. Or there might be that tiny little tip range again that doesn't, but it's very uncommon. Oh, before I do this actually, sorry. Just want to demonstrate that it beats the setups, the follow-ups too. So it's a true punish, it beats every option. So nothing to be afraid of there. But if we put Asuka in Rage, and we do a back 3, let's see if I got that timing right. Yep, good. So you'll notice here, even though I'm at close, even though I'm at close range, if you're holding back to block there, that's going to whiff. So you can either neutral guard and do it, or if you are afraid of what else is coming, at least you can always use a Blonde Bomb. Yeah, good. Alright then, on to the next thing. Alright, so in summary, Nina's Blonde Bomb can be input with either forward 1+2 or while standing 1+2. It has 17 frames startup with 1 active frame, knockdown on hit, -14 on block, so you've got to be careful of the matchup that you use it in. It can hit from about range 2.9 and closer, catches people stepping both directions on variable frames, and it power crushes from frame 8 to frame 16, with it making contact on frame 17 of course. It can be used as a high damage combo ender, high damage wall hit ender. It can be used to create Oki with the knockdown, create Oki at the wall as an ender. At the ender it can be unscaled of course. It can be used to catch people moving. It can be used as a long range whiff punisher and a long range block punisher. And it can be used post Oki to catch people getting up in particular ways. So as I said before, I think it's a very strong tool. You do need to be careful which matchups you use it in and which situations you use it in, but used properly it can give you a high reward, can get you out of some tricky situations, and I mean it's an iconic move of Nina's since the very start, isn't it? How do you all find you use Nina's Blonde Bomb? Do you like the move? Do you use it a lot? Do you think that you might overuse it or underuse it? Are there any situations I haven't mentioned in this video? I know for a fact there are still plenty. Please comment below how you use the move and what else you'd like to see. Once again, I'm a Friendly Tree, and thank you for checking out Nina Williams in depth. See you next time. That was not a key charge. Sorry everyone. Not good at key charge.
You win.
What's done is done.